your Bibles with me, if you would, to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Some of you are like, where is that? Page 472. If you have the exact same Bible as me. Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 7 through 12. We've been in a series called What Matters Most, and today, again, I deliberated about what to call this message, prayed about it, thought about it, and with all the creativity I could muster. If you're taking notes, I want you to write at the top of your notes, I'm gonna call this message Friendship. Very creative, out-of-the-box sermon titles is really what we're going for here at Grace City Church. And here's what I believe with my whole heart. Again, I've been saying it already, but you need friends. Like, you need friends. You need great friendships, not just middle-of-the-road friendships. You need unbelievable friendships. I believe that friendships, in a lot of ways, dictate the altitude of our life. Friendships allow us to keep pushing. Friendships encourage us and build us up. And I want to read out of Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 7. It reads like this. The writer says, I have observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is the case of a man who's all alone, without a child or a brother, yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can, but then he asks himself, come on, you ever have one of those Dear Diary moments? You ever living life and you're like, what is life all about? It's kind of having one of those moments. This is what he says. He says, who am I working for? And why am I giving up so much pleasure now? It's all so meaningless and depressing. And then this is a fascinating transition. He then goes on to say, two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. Let me read that again. Likewise, two people who are married, lying close together, can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. Let's pray. God, I thank you so much for your word. God, I pray that you would encourage us in our relationships and in our friendships. God, I believe, God, that if we could capture this, man, our lives would be better. We would be encouraged. We would see the things that you've put in our heart come to pass. God, I ask for great friendships over the people of our church. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Have you ever underestimated the importance of something until your context changed? Like you didn't think something was that big of a deal, and then all of a sudden your context changes a little bit, and then you really appreciate that thing that you used to kind of take for granted. I remember going to Alaska. Now, there's really no reason to go to Alaska unless you are dating an Alaskan, okay? And this is when I was dating the artist formerly known as Christina Reisner. And we were in a dating relationship, and now I have been to Alaska twice. I've been to Alaska when Christina and I were dating, and then I was in Alaska when we were engaged. And then once we made a covenant relationship before our friends in God, I've never been back. And so I remember the first time I ever went to Alaska, it was summertime. And so I went, and now I know by like looking at me, you're probably like, man, you seem like kind of like an outdoorsman connoisseur, just by looking at me. And so, but believe it or not, I'm actually not. I know it's weird, it's strange, but I'm not. And I remember the first time I went to Alaska, and I'm like, this is like a whole other place. Okay, this is like the final frontier. And one of the things that was taking place that I wasn't ready for is I was there during the summer. And in Alaska during the summer, the sun doesn't go away. Like it's light pretty much 24 hours a day. Some of you didn't even know that. But during the summer in Alaska, it's light 24 hours a day. So it's midnight and people are golfing. It's midnight and it's as light as it is right now at midnight. And so I was kind of rattled I slept terrible. Like the first couple of days I'm fine. I'm not really sleeping, but then by the time you get to like delirium and you get to like day 3 and 4, you're like, where am I right now? And what is taking place? And by the way, usually my body clock like yours is usually built around the sun. Like usually in the summertime, I go to bed much later in the summertime than I do during the winter. Because usually I'm all built around the sun. I'm not ready to eat dinner when it's still like light outside. So me and Christina have been like eating dinner like the last, 3 months at like 10 p.m. And we're going to bed late. And then that's why I need like the time to change again. I need the sun to go down sooner. And so I'm kind of tripping out. I can't sleep. And I've never been like much, for like the poet kind, but I start longing for the moon. I'm there like 4 or 5 days and I'm like, I gotta see the moon, baby. Like I need the night. I need the stars. Like I start longing for the night, something that I'd taken for granted my whole life. I'm like, I gotta get back to America so that like I can like actually see the night. It's amazing what you and I can take for granted. Another thing I actually, I gotta be careful I don't take for granted is my toothbrush. Gotta make sure I don't take my toothbrush for granted. Here's what I mean. I remember the first time that I ever brushed my teeth with an electric toothbrush. Come on, you remember the first time, like you thought your teeth were clean before you started using an electric toothbrush? You remember the first time you ever used an electric, like after the first time I ever used an electric toothbrush, all day I'm like, a whole new world, a dazzling place I never know. Like, this is amazing. My goodness. Amazing. You want to know what else you and I got to be really careful that we don't take for granted is friendship. I think you and I can so easily take friendship for granted. I think we can be navigating life and we have some people around us and we have some, solid friendships, but it is crazy how we can take these things for granted. And the difference is if I take my toothbrush for granted, it's all good. If I miss the moon and the night sky, it's not gonna really hurt me. But if I start taking friendships for granted, the damage can be catastrophic. The damage can be loneliness. The damage can be done. And I think there's a few what I call hurdles to great friendships. These are things that allow us to not have the kind of friendships I think that you and I desire. Here's the first hurdle to great friendships. Number one, insecurity. Insecurity is a hurdle to great friendships. And I think this plays out in a couple ways. One of the ways that insecurity plays out is we are not vulnerable with people, and so we get to a certain place in a relationship, but it does not go beyond that because long-lasting friendship takes a measure of vulnerability. It's exactly what Tyler was talking about, right? When I asked him, what's the benefit of long-term relationships? What did he say? When you have long-term relationships, you have somebody that you can tell on yourself to. I'm a firm believer that somebody should know everything. I am a firm believer that somebody's gotta know everything. But our insecurity causes us to stay back and reserved because here's what you and I think. If people really knew me, right? Like if people really, for real knew me, I don't know that people would wanna be my friend. Like right now, if we did an exercise and I'm like, okay, look at the person on your right and left and tell them everything you've thought in the last week. We would destroy relationships across the threshold of this room because we think crazy things. And so what we do is we go, man, if people really knew me, nobody would want to be my friend. And so we allow our insecurity to box us in and not allow us. Can I encourage you, if you're going to have great friendships, you got to take the risk, man. You got to take the step forward of being vulnerable so that you can have the relationships you desire. Here's another hurdle to great friendship, equitability. Equitability. If you're taking notes, EQU. I was looking at it and we're like, equitability. Here's what I mean by that. We want something without giving something. We want great friends, but if we were honest with ourselves and we looked in the mirror, how would we answer this question? Am I a great friend? Can people count on me? Am I really? So what oftentimes happens is we want the things that we're not sure that we are giving in turn. That's why I'm a firm believer. Man, you want great friendships, then man, do everything you can to be that. To be a great friend. It's gotta be equitable for people. And then here's the other hurdle to great friendships is that we underestimate or we overestimate ourselves. That is a huge hurdle in friendships. We underestimate or we overestimate ourselves. Now this depends on your personality. But some of you in this room, listen, you would be an awesome friend. You just are underestimating what you can bring to the table. So some of you in this room, you're like, nobody would want to be my friend. Like, and what you're doing is you're withholding yourself because you're underestimating who you are. You're underestimating what you bring to the table. And so you're like, man, I'm not really sure what I have to offer. I'm like, you know what I found to be true about friendship is just give what you got. Man, all my friends are all over the map and they're different personalities and all that kind of stuff. And what I found to be true is no matter what type of person you are, everybody just appreciates people that are there for them. Everybody appreciates people that just say, hey man, I don't really know what I have to offer, but I'm here if you need me. Hey, I don't really know if I have advice to offer in that area, but I can be a sounding board for you. Come on, I can encourage you. So you either underestimate or, this is a big one, you overestimate yourself. Meaning this, you don't think you need great friendships. You think you can do this on your own. I overheard a conversation one time, and this lady was talking about like spirituality, and she was talking to this person. This is actually when I was in college, and at my college, and this lady goes, "Oh, I don't go to church, and I don't really, have like a lot of relationships. It's just, it's me and Jesus." Well, it's just you and Jesus. Like, actually, you can't read the Bible and read it out of the context of people's relationship with each other. When you read the Bible, it is a relational book that weaves and intersects people's lives together. It's never just you and Jesus. In fact, if it's just you and Jesus, you'll be misled to think that you're more spiritual than you are. Because I'm so spiritual when I'm by myself. I'm like the nicest guy in the world when nobody's around me. Like, I enjoy my company. I don't get annoyed by myself. I'm really generous when nobody's around me. I buy myself gifts. I think of myself. Listen, you don't really know where you're at with God until you get around other people. It's when you get around with other people you go, whoa, I'm not as patient as I think I am. Man, I don't forgive the way that I think that I do in my mind. Don't overestimate yourself, because right about the time that you get in trouble in life and you've overestimated yourself and you didn't think you needed people, when you really need people, listen, because of how you stewarded your life, there will be nobody there. And when you really need people, man, you will be found wanting. And our friendships are a reflection of where we're going. I heard somebody say this one time, and I totally agree with it. Show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Your friendships are a reflection of where you're going. And here's my point, my only point today is this, is that friendship is a gift given to us for preventative and restorative purposes. Friendship is a gift given to us for preventative and restorative purposes. I want to talk about that preventative part first. Friendships are a gift given to us for preventative purposes. Here's how friendships are supposed to work. Real friends, I mean people that you've grown a relationship with, they are to be there so that if you are heading towards a cliff, they can help prevent that. I mean, that should be the benefit of friendship, is that you're navigating. Now listen, sometimes they're not always gonna do it the way you want it. Sometimes it's gonna look like them tackling you. Because you're going down the cliff and you think you're all good and you think you're all good, and just before you get to that cliff, they're gonna tackle you. And you might not even realize that you were on the edge of a cliff. All you're gonna feel is the pain of them tackling you. But can I just encourage you, the reality is I just have seen and been the beneficiary of this in my life. I'm grateful for people that have tackled me. I'm grateful for people that love me enough that when I'm heading towards a cliff, they go, whoa, time out, I need to have this conversation with you. So these friendships are there for preventative purposes. I wonder how many marriages could be or could have been saved if you and I would have spoke up. I'm telling you, I think about that all the time. I think about how many relationships, how many marriages could have been saved if when I saw unhealth in the marriage of a friend, I said something. I got to a stage in my life where I'm like, I'm not gonna live with that kind of regret. I'm gonna live my life, man, speaking into the life of my friends. Man, friendships are there for preventative purposes. However, they're also there for restorative purposes. Because here's the reality, you're gonna fall. Because you're imperfect. You're gonna fall. And so friendships are there for when you fall, you have a soft spot to land. Come on, if church is anything, it should be that. If church is anything, it should be the kind of place that, man, when people fall, there is a soft place for them to land. It doesn't mean that they don't have to deal with the pain. It doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It just means that there is a place to land. So these friendships are given as gifts to us for that purpose. Verse 7 in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. I love the way that this is put. I observed yet another example of something meaningless under the sun. This is a case of a man who is all alone and yet who works hard to gain as much wealth as he can. But then he asks himself, who am I working for? And why am I giving up so much pleasure now? You ever have those moments when you think, why am I doing this? Like honestly, those reflective questions that sometimes it's about work. Come on, sometimes it's our job. Sometimes it's like, man, why am I even doing this? Sometimes it's Christianity. Sometimes it's following God and you're doing your best to try to make good decisions that honor God. And you think, why am I even doing this? Sometimes it's in friendships. Sometimes it's in relationships. Sometimes it's in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's working out. Hello, right? But you're asking yourself, why am I even doing this? By the way, this will be a reflective conversation that you will have with yourself for the rest of your life. You will always have these kind of conversations where you ask yourself, why am I doing this? And you're gonna come up with a lot of different conclusions. You're gonna come up with a lot of different things, but can I encourage you, you better land the plane on people and the Lord. When you're asking yourself this question, why am I doing this? You better land the plane on people and the Lord. No matter what it is, why am I doing this? In fact, this is a phrase that I've been using a lot. Unto the Lord in the service of people. Unto the Lord in the service of people. Unto the Lord in the service of people. I get up and go to work. Unto the Lord in the service of people. Man, how I operate in my conduct in my city. Unto the Lord in the service of people. How I treat my wife. Unto the Lord in the service of people. Man, everything I do, I'm thinking unto the Lord in the service of people. Whatever it is that you are doing, make sure that you land the plane on the why question when it comes to people. Because here you have a guy going, man, I'm working and I'm making money, but I don't even have anybody here to enjoy it with. Why am I doing this? And then this is the conclusion he draws. Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone, you're in trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? I think we can have a fear of friendships because it's more raw and less programmatic than we want. I think we can have a real fear of friendships because like real relationships, real friendships, they're not clean, are they? Like it's not clean. It's not pretty. In fact, me and Tyler, we got in a fight yesterday as to, we were on the golf course, as to what the rules that we normally play with are. There was a major controversy on hole 1 at Stream Song. It was real. It was real, people, right? Listen, there's things that happen in relationships that cause animosity. There's things that happen in relationships where there is some confrontation. And that's why sometimes I think we like the program of relationship without necessarily real relationship. This is why, by the way, we don't over-program at our church. Like why we don't have like the 18 to 35-year-old group and then the 50 to 60-year-old single group and then like the 30 to 50-year-old unicycling people. And the reason is some of it honestly was because of my experience early on with church. My experience early on was this. I remember I got saved and I was in an accountability group. Remember those? Anybody who grew up in the days of like accountability? Let me see your hand if like you've ever been in an accountability group. Like, okay, maybe that's the problem. Okay, cool. Right on. 8 of us. Cool, right? But I remember I grew up and that was the big thing. Like we're accountability partners, right? And we were in, and I remember I got in an accountability group. And I hated it. The reason why I hated it, in fact, the reason why I'm not a fan of accountability groups today. Now, I'm a fan of, hear me when I say this, I'm a fan of accountability. Not a fan of accountability groups. Here's why. Here's why. I remember 17, 18 years old, I'm in this accountability group. I'm hanging out with like 4 or 5 guys. I don't really know that well. And we would like sit down at a restaurant or sit down at Starbucks and we'd start asking each other these questions that were on a card, right? We start asking each other these questions that were on a card like, what websites have you visited recently, right? Have you treated everybody kindly this week? And we would start asking these really invasive questions in a really impersonal way. Right? It wasn't personal. And what was funny is like you'd kind of stand there and you feel like you were taking a test. I remember feeling like I was taking a test. Like I'd go, no. No. Yeah. No. Yeah. No. No. Right? You know, right? That's how this would go. And then after like 2 months of being in this group, I found out like a couple of the guys were lying during these questions. I thought, it like rattled me. Because like, wait, we're lying in an accountability group? Like, why don't you start with, are you gonna lie to these questions? Like, let's start there. Because here's what I found to be true about life. You are only as accountable as you wanna be. Period. You are only as accountable as you wanna be. So I'm not into accountability groups. I am into friendship with people that love me and care about me. And yes, they're gonna ask me tough questions, but more times than not, they don't even have to ask me because I'm telling them what's going on in my life and I'm leaning into it. And I have people that love me again. Yes, we're into accountability, and yes, you need people that can hold you accountable, but come on, let's not have it so clean and neat in a programmed fashion. We need friendships. We need people that love us and care about us. We need people that are willing to step out. Friendship isn't a good idea. Listen, you and I, we need friendships for survival. It's not just like, oh, friends would be nice. That's not what this is. I need friends to survive. In fact, sometimes we treat having friends like the exit row on a plane. What I mean is like, I love the exit row on a plane. Anybody else like you love the extra row on a plane? You get like you know, a little bit of extra space and it's fantastic. And you know, it's like free first class. It's amazing. You know what I mean, right? But what I always find so fascinating is like the whole experience. Because what happens is, right, you know, you get on the plane and you get in your little exit row and you're feeling good, you're proud, you're judging the people walking by you, you're like, exit row, right? You feel better than them, right? You know, right? They're walking by. You got maybe even you put your headphones in. Thank goodness that they let us use like our headphones and our phone. Because I've always thought, did you ever thought it was weird that like you had to put away everything before the plane took off? Like I'm like, if my iPod can take this thing out, I don't know that I should be on this thing. Like I don't know if this is safe, right? And so, but what's so funny is, you know, this happens all the time. I'm in the exit row, headphones in, kind of hanging out, maybe watching The Office, right? The greatest show ever created, right? And I'm watching. I'm there, I'm kind of hanging out. Some lady comes up to me, taps me on the shoulder, and I'm like, oh. And she's like, I'm like, oh yeah. Take off my headphones. She's like, hey, sir, quick question. Like, oh yeah. In between Office episodes, right? You know, this is important stuff, man. Quick question. If we were to crash, just easy question. If we were to crash, would you be willing to help save lives in case of an emergency? Oh, yeah. You ever thought about how casual people answer that question? Like, I don't ever really think about it. You know what I mean? Like, come on, like what if she came up and asked me, hey, sir, in case of an emergency, would you be willing to help in case of an emergency? An actual, probably more real response, if I was actually responding to a real question like that, would be like, I don't know, to be honest. Because like, am I the kind of person that runs into burning buildings? I mean, not really. I mean, I actually just got this seat because I wanted like 4 extra inches of legroom. I really don't know if I'm your guy. If we end up sinking in the Atlantic. Row 12C looks like way more competent at something like that than me. Boo, I'll go back here. Like it's like that would probably be a more real answer. But I just cavalierly just have this extra. I think sometimes friendships we're kind of like, yeah, extra legroom would be nice. A friend or two would be great. No, guys. Friends have the potential to save your life. I've had conversation with some friends that shifted the trajectory of my life. I've had some conversations with some friends that I was going in this direction, and after the conversation, I was going in this direction. Friends aren't just a good idea. Friends can save our lives. When it's talking about, how can one be warm alone? It's not talking about like, rated R version of the Bible. It's talking about, hey, you will die if you don't have body heat. You will die if someone is not with you. It's not a good idea. You and I absolutely need friends. I want to have the band come up because I want to finish with these last couple thoughts. Because I believe this, there are 2 seasons when you will find out how you've done at stewarding friendships. There are 2 seasons that you will find out very quickly, how have I done at stewarding friendships? In the mountain and in the valley. You will find out very, very quickly. Like for example, you will find out how well you've done at celebrating other people when it's time for you to be celebrated. You'll find out very quickly. Come on, if you're good at celebrating people, you wanna know what people wanna do for you? They'll wanna celebrate you. Like, I can't wait for Matt Higgins to start dating somebody. Like, I'm excited about that. Is he even here today? Does he work here? Okay, cool. Right. I can't wait for Matt Higgins to meet somebody. If you're interested, email, I'm actually gonna take resumes, email me, and then I'll kind of we'll weed them out, and then we'll kind of offer like 3 over, and we'll do like an arranged marriage on a Sunday next weekend. So it's gonna be awesome. Vision Sunday, it's gonna be awesome. But you wanna know what's gonna happen when Matt meets somebody and gets engaged and gets married? We are going to throw a hallelujah hoedown, okay? We're gonna throw a party, man. And you wanna know why the primary reason, why this is dead serious, you wanna know why the primary reason we're gonna go crazy is because he's so good at celebrating other people. He's amazing at it. He is so good at celebrating other people. You wanna know how you've done at stewarding like your friendships? How do you do at celebrating other people? You wanna know what's been so fun for Christine and I during this season is, man, we just had another baby shower yesterday, and our church, you guys, our friends, people have been amazing to us. And wanna know what I was thinking about? I go, man, because for years we just celebrated people. Even in the midst of us trying to have kids, we just celebrated people and celebrated people and in our world, we have to do it like we do it publicly too. It's not just privately in our own hearts, we do it publicly. I'm telling you, man, you will know how you're stewarding relationships based on how do people respond to you when you're on the mountaintop. And on the other side of the coin, you will know how you've done at stewarding relationships when you fall flat on your face. You will know. You'll know. Because if you stewarded well in this season, which by the way, that's how it works. You reap what you have sown, not what you will sow, not what you desire to sow, not what you wish you would have sown. You reap what you have sown. And so what the problem is, we get in a valley over here and nobody's around, and we're like, why isn't anybody around? Well, because if you surveyed the last 5 years of your life, have you been sowing into friendships with people in your life? That's why sometimes it drives me nuts. I gotta be honest, it drives me crazy when people aren't in a city group. And they're frustrated because something happens. This will happen. Like, I can't believe nobody in my church knew. I always go, what city group were you in? Well, I wasn't in a city group. How are we supposed to know? If you haven't been sowing into relationships, then there's gonna come a time where things get difficult, man. And you're gonna have to reap what you've sown. And some of you know because you went through difficult seasons by yourself, because you know in your own heart, man, I didn't reap the right things. So I ended up alone for a season. Don't make that same mistake twice. Don't make that mistake twice. Now, anybody who knows me knows this. This is well documented in our church. One of my favorite things to see is somebody fall. Not like spiritually, like that actually grieves me, but like physically fall on the ground. Physically fall. Now, not to the point of injury, I'm not a monster. You know what I mean? Like, just like the little fall where it's like, oh, they probably could have kept themselves up, but they end up going down anyway, right? It's the best kind of fall. Because every time I'm in the space when somebody falls, I always think, Lord, there you go again. Showing me how much you love me. Putting me in this place at this time for this season. And you want to know now, and I myself have fallen a time or two. Every single one of us in the room have fallen. You know what has been interesting in all my years of studying the fall? Is, you know what's funny? It doesn't matter how old you are, how much money you make, how much education you have, what race you are, where you're from. All of us do the same thing when we're falling. We start grabbing for stuff that's not there. Come on, you ever go to fall and you're like grabbing for stuff that isn't there? And then you fall and you're laughing, you're like, oh man. Now listen, that's funny and cute, but devastating when you fall in life and there aren't any hands because you haven't sown. You haven't sacrificed to have the friendships you need. Can I tell you, my friendship with these two guys, it hasn't come without sacrifice. Like, I'm grateful for Tyler. Tyler and his wife, man, they spent money to fly out here to be here for Christina and the baby. Like, they took days off of work. That doesn't just happen. You got to sacrifice. When the Southeastern University job came open, men's basketball job, and the president of the university came to me, said, hey, who do you think? And I'm like, I got a guy named RJ Barsh that would be perfect. You got to sacrifice, man. You got to put yourself out there for stuff. It'd be devastating for you and I to fall and not have hands. Here's what I found to be true about valleys. The valleys are manageable with people by your side. They're manageable. And then finally in verse 12, he says, a person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. I want to give you 4 times of how these friendships sharpen and make us better. The Bible says that in Proverbs, it says that just as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. You and I are sharpened by people. And here's how we're sharpened by people. Number 1, you need someone to fight with you. You need someone to fight with you. Come on, you need someone to roll with you, man. You need someone that no matter what, come hell or high water, they have your back, and they are back to back, and they are fighting with you. Come on, you need about 3 or 4 people that all of you guys are in, and you are fighting for each other. Here's another way it sharpens us, is that you need someone to fight for you sometimes. So you need someone to fight with you, but sometimes, come on, you ever been so exhausted for fighting? You're gassed. In fact, you don't even have any energy to fight anymore. Here's what you need. You need people in your life to say, hey, come here, man. Chill out right here and catch your breath. And until you get your second win, I'm gonna be out here fighting for you. And I got your back, and I ain't going anywhere. Here's the third kind of group of people that really help us, is you need people to tell you when not to fight. Come on, you need people to tell you when not to fight. I can't tell you how many times I've called a couple guys in our church, but one guy in particular, Bill Mutz. He's the mayor of our city, goes to our church. He was at the 9:30 service, and he's on our church council. And I'm naturally a fighter, so I'm like, oh, is there a fight? Let's go, right? But I can't tell you how many times I've called Bill, and I'm so upset about something that happened, and I'm irate, and I'm ready to fight, and I'm ready to have a meeting, and I'm all hyped up, you know. And I'm calling Bill for a specific reason, because Bill's gonna be a great friend to me, be a great church council person, and he's gonna say, I mean, come on. And you know when somebody's doing this to you, know when somebody's calming you down, I get it, Drew. I get it. Totally, no, I'm with you. I'm with you, brother. Totally, yeah. Yeah, here's maybe another side. I don't know, I'm sure you've probably thought about this. But here's another side maybe to think about. And by the end of the conversation, I'm like, I'm really glad that guy's in my life. Because I'd probably get into fights I shouldn't have gotten into. And you need some people in your life that can help you discern what fights to fight. And then on the other side of the coin, you need some people to lean into you and go, hello, you're in a fight. You need some people in your life that can lean into you and go, come on, come on, apathetic husband. You're in a fight for your family. Get in the game. And don't go down without swinging. Don't go down with some energy left in the tank. Don't go down with everything you got. Come on, parents, you're in a fight for your kids, and don't go down don't go down not swinging. Give it everything you got. You need some people in your world to just go, come on, you're in a fight. And you gotta go. And I'm grateful for people in my life that's like, oh, I'm in a fight. Like, and I'll just go. And it's made my relationships better. It's made me live with more passion. And you gotta have these friends. Why? Because your friend's gonna tell you, they're gonna fight with you. They're gonna fight for you. They're gonna say, no, that's not a fight. No, you need to get in the fight. You and I, we need friends. And it's gonna take some getting over yourself. It's gonna take some getting over yourself. Some of you naturally do this. Some of you, again, get in a city group. For some of you, it's, you know that part in the middle of service that we all hate, but we do it anyway, like, hey, give 4 high fives, and you're like, you know, right? That part of service we all hate, but we do it every week. Like, hey, say hi to 3 people, and you do it like to 1, you're rebellious in church. When is this over? You know, right? Can I just tell you, I've met some of my best friends in that 45-second window, straight up. I met some of my best friends in that 1-minute window in church. Because then afterwards, I didn't really know you, but by the way, spirits attract spirits. I don't know if you knew that. Come on, you ever seen somebody and went, man, I like them. I don't even really know them. But I'd love to get some time with that person. Listen, people are more available than you think they are. You wanna know how I know? Because all of us need friends. Literally, we're all sitting down. I'm gonna get all mad because it's the 12:30, so I can preach as long as I want at this service, right? But I get so mad because I genuinely feel like sometimes we're all just sitting here wanting the same thing. Like, oh man, I wish I had more friends. I wish I had, people are too busy. I'm not too busy, but they're too busy. Oh, I wish I had more friends, but I wish I had more to offer. Like, they seem like they have everything to offer. And all of us are thinking the same thing. And not having the friendships that we could have. Can I encourage you, church, come on, let's get over ourselves. Let's use the mechanisms that God had given us, city groups, let's use the vehicles, but also let's just step out organically too and build the relationships we need to build. Come on, let's stand to our feet, church.